Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. On today's video, I got something really exciting to show you guys. This is something that I've been putting off for a little while now on showing you. If you followed along with the channel at all in recent years, you know that we are about overlanding. We like taking our Jeeps to really cool places, kind of remote places sometimes, and that kind of means we have to have things to allow us to get off the grid, to be able to be more self-sufficient, which means we have to be able to cook our own food and have water and keep things cold and those types of things. So that way we can survive, if you will, while we're off the grid, out, exploring really cool remote places and being adventurous. Having said that, if you've been following the channel, you knew that we designed and built a drawer system box that used to sit in the back here. We did a video on that, a short, brief video, and then long story short, we ended up tearing it apart, disassembling it, selling some of the components from it because it was just really heavy and it was kind of falling apart in some places, needed some work, needed tweaked here and there. The design was good in essence, but the execution was a little hazy in some areas. So we ended up disassembling it and getting rid of it. So when we did that, we knew that we were going to be going to something different. And that's what today's video is about. The American Adventure Labs drawer systems. I say that with a question mark because we have a variety of American Adventure Lab products here today. So let's open the tailgate and show you guys all the good stuff. So what we have here, if you guys watch one of our recent videos, we now have the Billy Bars tailgate cover here. This thing is awesome. But what we have here is the American Adventure Labs. We'll start on the passenger side. So what we have is the wider slider. This here is where we store our Iceco VL75 Pro D freezer. Obviously you guys aren't seeing everything in here. We just got back from our trip out west not too long ago, so we've removed everything. Everything still hasn't even been cleaned yet, but we've removed everything from the Jeep and we're cleaning all of our stuff up now, so that's why it's not in here. But it normally sits about here to here, roughly. And then we still have a little bit of room behind the fridge that we put like our recovery gear and some other stuff, and we just bungee it all up. What's nice about this wider slider is it's got these little tie down spots, so you can take these little clips out and you can move them wherever you need. They're just a little spring loaded and off they go. So they're really handy, really easy to use. And that's the wider slider. We also have their handle on the front, which I need to tweak a little bit still. Takes a little bit of adjustment. And it's that simple. So it doesn't take up, we still have room behind the slider there that we can put whatever. So like during our trip out west, we had like an extension cord and some other stuff that sat back there. So that's the wider slider. Moving over to the driver's side, we'll start up top. This is their regular fridge slider, so it's not as wide as the wider slider. The wider slider is meant for, obviously, wider fridges and freezers. The Iceco VL75 Pro D is a little bit wider, especially when we have the insulation cover on it, so that's why we had to go with a wider version. And then the standard version is this one up here. So if you've got a regular standard width fridge, this is what you would choose. So again, all the same thing. I have the little tie down points up here. We've got them in various locations. Got some bungees here. On our trip out west, I don't know if I have any photos or videos of it. If I do, I'll put that on the screen now. But what we did was we had our tables that we set up for camp. We placed them up here and then put the bungees around them. Then when we got to different places where we needed firewood, we stacked our bundles of firewood here on top or next to our tables, and then we just used the bungees, and this slide worked out really, really well. Now on the wider slider, how I said we're using their handle, if you don't choose their handle, you get both of these red knobs or handles that come with the slides. This is what this looked like to begin with, and then we decided to add this handle. So you can end up choosing to put these handles on all of these. Elizabeth wasn't a huge fan. She didn't want to do it to the rest of them, and I wanted to do it on the fridge, so that's why we have that there. Moving down to the second drawer, or the first drawer, I should say. This is what their 6-inch drawers look like. So right now, for now, I'm storing just some of our recovery gear, tool bag. Yeah, pretty much that's it. When we overland and camp, the couple times we've used this system now, or a few times we've used it, this was our dry foods storage. So in the back, what we used this whole section for was all of our freeze-dried meals. And then all of this was for just regular cooking needs. That was all dry food. So any of our bread and macaroni and things like that sat up here. And same with the front, Pop-Tarts, silly stuff like that. What's nice about these is if you see the screw here and the screw here, there's one on the opposite side. These dividers, you can literally, it's just one Allen bolt and a nut on the inside, 10mm wrench, and you can pop that thing off and you can move these around to fit your specific needs. I don't know. I'll have to reach out to American Adventure Labs, and I'll put it on the screen now and find out if they make these where you can buy these individually. So if you wanted more, you could purchase more. So I'll put that on the screen if they do sell those. Moving on to the bottom drawer, stink bug. This looks more like our actual setup for when we go camping. So this is our Jetboil Genesis stove. It's a 2-burner stove. We have our pot in here. A little attachment to hook up propane. And then normally on this side sits our utensils for all of our cooking. It's in the house right now getting cleaned from our trip. Disregard all this, future video. Right in here sat, mainly our plates sat in here, and then we had some extra room for some other random things. Back here in the back, we've got paper towels on a paper towel holder, bug spray, couple cups, our Jetboil to just boil water if we need. This is the, can't remember what this one, oh, the Flash. The Flash is what this one's called. So just boil, if we need to boil just water for like coffee or hot chocolate in the morning, like that's the cat's meow. We've got some lighters, a little torch. When you have a rooftop tent, you need a portable vacuum. That's what that is. Yeah, telescoping s'more stick. And then, as always, with cooking things, you got to be able to clean it. So we've got some cleaning supplies. We've got some Ziploc baggies for extra food, some hot pads, microfiber cloth, and then we've got 2 collapsible sinks. So I'm gonna go ahead and close this on up. Let's talk the pros and cons to a system like this. Big pros is that, as you can see, it's very, very easy to get things in and out of a drawer, like as if you were home while you're out in the middle of nowhere, or you're on the top of a mountain and you're nowhere near any sort of food or restaurant or anything like that, right? So you can store this with anything you want. It doesn't have to be cooking. You could store tools, parts, whatever it might be. Like, these drawers are really, really sturdy. You can get these in different finishes. The only real downside I can say to this is that they put their logo, their American Adventure Lab logo here, cut out in the face of the drawers. And we've noticed that even with the tailgate shut, there's still a little bit of room between the drawer and the tailgate. And somehow, some way, still dust will get inside that little tiny opening, and the front drawer can, I won't say get real dusty, but it can get dusty on the first few items in there. So we're gonna cover that up and keep that from happening in the future. But that would be my only real big complaint. about this system. The only other thing I can mention is that they are definitely significantly lighter than our previous setup. I know that each one of these drawers, you could just do one drawer if you want. You don't have to do 2 drawers and a slider. We could have chose 3 drawers and a slider. We could have, I mean, the possibilities are endless. However, each one of these 6-inch drawers weigh approximately, I think, 70 pounds. So 70, that's 140. And then from what I was told from American Adventure Lab is that the regular slider weighs somewhere in the ballpark of, I think, 50-ish pounds. So, I mean, you're talking close to 200 pounds just on the left side here. And then you add the wider slider that's like 60-ish pounds, somewhere around there from what I remember. We're talking 260 pounds before you even really add any weight or add anything to them. So you're adding a fair amount of weight to your bed to start. So just know that with your suspension, you're gonna have to account for adding these things. It will definitely sag. You'll have to take into consideration that. The other thing to note about this system is that you can get this system without using their mounting system. And what I mean by that is, by the way, can we give big props to Kobe for my little brother for being on camera today for us? All right, we'll have Kobe zoom in. So if you see all these screws in here and you see the screws that hold this with all these slots in it, those screws that are in the bed, that is the mounting system. They call that their base mounting or their base attachment system. You can get it with a template or without. Basically what that means is we got it with the template. They give you all these pieces of steel that come with different screws to be able to attach it to itself to create the actual template. And then the whole thing slides in your bed. I'll show a picture of that on the screen now because we took some photos as we were doing this. We did this several months ago. You put it in the bed, and then once it's all lined up and you get it exactly where you need it to be, then you start drilling all your holes that you would like. Now we chose to drill all of the holes because I only wanted to do it once. So I drilled all the holes. Even if we're not using them, we plugged them and off we go. So what that does is there's mounting plates that get held up underneath the bed, and then you use the screws from the top to sandwich it between the bed and itself. So that way you have basically a mounting plate underneath that you're gonna use to mount this system. So basically you got mounting plate, you have bed, and then you have whatever you're gonna mount on top. Hopefully that makes sense. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments. I'd love to help answer any that anybody might have. The issues that we had with that system and that setup was the instructions I thought were kind of vague in certain aspects. Some of the instructions were good, some of them were not at different points. On when you needed to do this, how many you were supposed to use of this, what screw went where, because there's different sizes, or I should say lengths. Just take your time and reach out and ask questions to me or to American Adventure Lab if you end up with this system, because it was a little confusing as we were doing it, and that's why we're making this video today. Now obviously I'm not going to go through and show you step by step on how we did the mounting system because it's already done, but excuse me, just know you really want 2 people to do this. Somebody that can get underneath and hold the mounting plates, and then somebody on top that can screw everything in. The drilling part was easy. It really isn't that big of a deal. I know a lot of people don't want to drill into their Jeep, but to the bed, if I ever pull this back out and I pull those screws out, like you're not really even going to notice those holes. But even if you didn't want to, like, you can put the screws back in and you never notice the screws in your bed. You would just use your bed as if you normally did. It's not going to hurt anything. So if I needed to make my own drawer system again, like, at least I would have a place to mount things down to now. So I've got a really solid foundation to mount all this stuff to. Now for the wider slider, as you see, if you zoom in, Kobe, the silver screws that you see up on top, that is all you see. There's 6 in the back on the driver's side, 3 on the passenger side, 3 in the middle on the passenger side, 5 on the middle driver, And then I think it's the same here in the front, right up against the back of here. I'll have this wider slider out of this Jeep in like 5 minutes, not even. It's really, really easy. Now remember, it weighs a little bit, so getting it in and out, a little cumbersome just because of the awkwardness of the weight, but this is all made out of aluminum. Okay, so here we've got a GoPro with a snap mount. That was the word I was looking for. I'm gonna show you something. Our rack is steel, magnetic, right? Okay, all this, like, it's aluminum. So now the slides are steel. This is the slides. They're 500-pound rated slides. That's where all of your weight comes from. These slides are very heavy, but the rest of this stuff is all aluminum. So it could be much heavier. Think of it that way if this was all made out of steel. So that's the base mounting system. So here in the next week, we're gonna go ahead and remove all this stuff out of here. As I remove it, I'm gonna show you guys exactly how, I just told you how the wider slider comes out. I will show you how this slide comes out and how the drawers come out. The slide is just, or the fridge slide is just like the wider slider over here with the screws up on top. It's actually a little bit less because there's less screws. But the drawers are a little bit different. They're easy until you get to the middle. So when we get to that point, when we're ready to take that out next week, I'm gonna fast forward to there right now. So now I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys how exactly we're gonna remove the wider slider. This will be the same order or same steps to put it in, just in reverse order. It's literally really, really simple. So let's hop in and I'm gonna show you what we gotta do. First off, I'm using a little electric impact, and it's a 4mm Allen wrench or socket in my case to take these screws out. All right, I'm gonna hop up in and let's get these screws out. All right, so once you get those screws out, you should be able to push the slide back in if you want, or remove it while it's extended, doesn't matter. However you need to remove it, but you should have the ability to pull it out of the Jeep now. Quick little tip, what I didn't do, and I'm gonna do in the future, especially now that I kind of have done this a little bit more, I would leave the two outer screws in and then just remove the center screw on the outside. Now, because we've got the wider slider, we're using the full width plate in the center, so it combines this driver's side stuff to the passenger side. So if I was removing the whole thing all together, then yeah, I could do that, but I would still have to remove all the screws from the center portion, because otherwise all this stuff would want to go with it. So you could leave the outside stuff screwed in, just remove the center screw. You'll see there's 3 screws, just remove the center. So now that we've got the wider slider, the regular fridge slider is going to be very similar, but since we've got this mounted up on top of the drawers, there's only 6 screws that hold this entire thing on. There's 3 on each side, so we'll remove those 6 screws and then this thing will be able to come off and we can remove it. All right, just like that, we can pull this thing out and we're good. All right, so for the drawers, it's a little different. And this is why we're making this video in the first place, is because there is some confusing information or instruction on how these things get assembled and put together. It's just not very clear. So that's why we're making this video, to show you guys. So as you can see on the top, obviously very dirty because we've used it, but you can see the 6 holes that are in the top. If you're not putting a slider on here, you can plug those holes back in with the screws and you're good to go. So how you remove these drawers, or how they're put together, is we will have to remove this drawer from the sliders themselves. I would have thought that American Invention Lab would have made it to where these are removable slides and you could just pull this thing out, but to be able to get access to the screws that hold this drawer to the other drawer, we have to take this actual drawer, this top one, out. So it's just 6 screws. Pull pull some of this out so you guys can see it. There's a screw there, screw here, and same on the other side. Something I didn't mention, this takes a 5mm Allen using a socket here. All right, here's where you're gonna probably want a little help. Now, these drawers are actually really light. It's just more awkward than anything. They're all aluminum, so. So we can set this to the side and then we can move on to the inside, show you guys how that comes undone. Okay, so to remove these drawers, again, we've got 6 screws that hold this top drawer to the bottom drawer. There's 2 here, same as the top, 2 in the middle and 2 in the back. Now what we're gonna have to do is the 2 front ones, I can get to right here with a wrench, no problem. The 2 in the very back, I'll show you in a minute, we'll have to remove the back panel to be able to get to them. The 2 in the middle are the toughest part of this whole thing. Removing this is not too bad. It's more installing the bottom ones first because I'm jumping ahead. I'll show you in a minute. Okay, so I've got the middle one on the driver's side out. Now I gotta get to the passenger side, so just wanna show you guys how much of a pain this is to get in here. I'm a short guy, I don't have real long arms, so obviously I got things working against me, but regardless, it's a pain to get all the way back here. I don't know if you can see it, but it is, I already loosened it up. And like I said, removing this, much easier than having to place it and find the right hole. So now that I've got these out, my plan is, you see all these holes here, you can tell these front ones, well, you won't see that one, but you can tell this front one which screw hole I used. I'm gonna mark these with a paint pen, so that way I know next time which hole, when I'm trying to line this up, has to go into the drawer. That way I know locationally where this thing's supposed to sit. All right, so we're gonna go ahead, and because I'm gonna have to end up this screw here in the front stripped out on me, I'm gonna have to drill it out at a later time. So what I'm gonna do now is remove the bottom drawer, and then we'll work on taking everything out there. So this is a lot easier when there's nothing in here. Now we can just pull this out. Now it's out. So I'm gonna need an extra hand because I got stuff in here. So we're gonna cut this video and we're gonna place this out of the way for now. So like I said before, when I said only remove the center screw, not the outside screws, this is what I mean. The reason being, then your brackets stay with your slider. So, whoa. I'm gonna be replacing a few screws because this one doesn't feel too great either. And then on this side, we'll do the same thing. Just the one in the middle here. All right, so to get to the back screws, we have to remove these panels. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 screws per panel, and then we can get access to the back screws. Okay, so when you get these screws out, and you can remove this panel, so you can see that screw there, then you can see the screw right here. So these are our back 2 screws that we have to take out. It'll be the same for the bottom, and then we'll go do the middle ones and finish up. There we go. Okay, so we've got the back screws out. Now we've got the middle for the bottom drawer. So I'm going to show you just how much of a pain it is to reach back here, especially underneath. So I gotta reach all the way back in here. I don't know if you guys can see that or not. Now, imagine trying to put this screw, find the correct hole, first of all. Yeah, that's what she said. Find the correct hole. It's got to go through the angle bracket or the main outer shell here. It's got to go through this hole. Then it has to go through the square spacer. Then it's got to go through the bed. And then it's got to get into the actual nut plate that's underneath the bed. And you have to make sure you're all in the right hole and lining this all up blindly while reaching halfway across the bed. Not a very good setup, but once it's in, you never have to mess with it again. Now, having to reach back here like this, when we were first putting this in for the first time, I actually started stripping one of the screws, trying to get everything lining up. So we pulled it back out and replaced it with a good screw, but it's very easy to strip these things, and especially when it's like really difficult to reach. There we go. Now imagine you're doing that 3 times because you got the middle long screw and then the 2 smaller screws. All right, so now we got to do the passenger side, which I'm gonna shift the light around. All right, so as you can see, it got dark. We had some dinner while we were taking a little break. We've got all the screws out now, so this whole thing, as you can see, I call this the housing, the case. Cases are all loose, top and bottom. So now we can pull this stuff out and it goes back in the same way. When I get all this out tonight and I put it in our garage, tomorrow morning or tomorrow I'll show you guys one look at what the base setup looks like with nothing in the bed here, so you can see all that, and then we can wrap this video up. All right, guys, so to wrap up this video, the last part is, now that we have all of the sliders and the drawers out of the Jeep, we haven't done any cleaning yet, so don't judge, but I wanted to show you guys what the base mounting system looks like when there's nothing inside mounted to it, just so you can kind of take a look at it. So let me flip the camera around and we'll show you. Okay, so as you can see, all the screw heads that are running along the floor there, that is where all of the base mounting system is. Now, if I'm not mistaken, somebody correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but how the mounting system goes here is these 4 screws, these first 4 screws, the first one and the last one attach the plate underneath, and then the 2 middle ones are accessible to use. Same with here on the left, same with here on the right. Now when we get to the middle, you can see the little rectangle there. That's where our little riser was. The first screw here and then the 3rd screw are what actually attach the plate, and then the middle screw is what's accessible. Same with the left, same with the right. When you get to the back right, you can see the 3 screws there. The first screw and the last screw are what mount the plate, and the middle one is usable. When you get to the middle, it's the first screw and the last screw mount the plate, and then the 3 middle ones give you mounting points. And then the far left is first screw, last screw, middle one is accessible. What I mean by plate underneath, I'm gonna take the camera out and show you guys from what I can down below what those little mounting plates look like. But they're just little bars, and it basically sandwiches the plate, then you have the bed, and then you have the screw up on top of the bed, and then that gives you mounting holes through your bed. So if you wanted to use this for other things, not just the American Adventure Lab stuff, you could sit here and you could make whatever that you needed to be able to mount to this. If you wanted, let's just say, a dog box if you're a hunter, or if you needed to make your own fridge slide, or I don't know, there's so many different things that you can mount to your bed. The possibilities are almost limitless. So let's take the camera around and show you guys what those plates look like. So it's kind of difficult to see there. So this is the plate that I was talking about, where the back screw here and the screw here are what actually attach this plate to the bed, and then these go through. And if you needed to use a different combination, you could, but that is what's going to give you the most strength and rigidity, is the first one and the last one. That's how they're made to be used. So there's another one right there where it's the 3, so 1 screw, back screw, 1 in the middle, and then you can kind of see the other one right there underneath. So that pretty much wraps up this video. I just wanted one last time to show you guys kind of what this looks like without the drawers or the slides in there. If you think that those screws will be bothersome, maybe this isn't a system for you, but for us it makes it really simple to be able to put these back in. Like I said, you saw in the video, it's not necessarily the easiest system to be able to mount certain things in. This system, drilling all the holes, mounting everything, wasn't too bad, but once it's in there, it's in there. It's easy to use. I mean, you just go grab an Allen wrench, pop these screws out, whatever you need, and then off you go. I think that that about does it for today's video. I want to thank you guys for watching and helping us grow our channel into where it is today. Please be sure to subscribe to the channel, help us reach our goal of hitting 500 subscribers, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See ya.